Okay, everybody, welcome to the webinar. My name's Lauren Perry. I'm operations manager at Syngap Research Fund, and today's webinar is to introduce you to SRF and the team leads and how we're organized. We have a really amazing group of volunteers, and there we go. So I'm going to give it to Mike to start.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Lauren, and thank you for pulling this meeting together and all the important work that you do. Just to remind everybody, the mission of this organization is to improve therapies and lives of kids and adults with Syngap 1 and their families. That's why we're all here. And when we started that, it was all about we need to make better medicines, and then it became data, and you should all be signed up for Citizen. And then it became biomarkers and endpoints. And now it's really about just supporting this growing community and improving clinical care. And I cannot overstate how much this organization is growing and how prominent Syngap is in the eyes of industry because of the work that we do. And I think, I'll talk about this in my next podcast, but people don't understand how important the work of patient advocacy is, and they don't understand that in the absence of a patient advocacy group for disease, things either don't happen or they happen too slowly. So, what we're here to talk about today is how this organization is growing and how there is room for everybody who wants to help. So if you're watching this right now, it should be because you're like, okay, I want to help. I need to figure out where. That's the question we're going to answer today. And I just want to underscore this work that SRF does brings therapies into reality faster, number one. Number two, you get what you give times 10. So the work that you do with SRF allows you to work closely with other parents and be part of this community that is the Syngap Research Fund. And that's exceptionally powerful and healing and helpful for all of us. And so I just want to thank you all for being here. And if you haven't seen it yet, Ed recently decided to write this blog about why people support SRF, and there's 50 profiles in there. So if you're thinking about, do I really want to do this? Should I really be adding one more thing to my plate? Read that blog. The answer is yes. There's a lot to do. And I just want to, next slide, please. I just want to preempt a question, which is at the end of this, I was sharing this slide with one of the people who gives me advice today, and they said, wow, Mike, there's a lot in here. You got to tell people if this is over. Some of you are going to be looking at it and you're going to be like, that's where I go. That's the thing I want to do. Wonderful. And some of you be like, oh my gosh, it was too much. What, just tell me what to do. So here's my answer on the tell me what to do's. Fundraising. We need to raise more money from within this community and from our broader networks. The science takes money. Some of all the things we do take money, and we as a group need to continue to improve fundraising. And I think every family needs to feel like they have a chance to improve their child's future by fundraising through SRF. So that's number one. Number two, the state ambassadors and advocates that you will hear about from Corey and Jackie are really important programs where in every state we need someone. So if you're like, I just don't know where to start there. Start with fundraising, start with the advocates, marketing and design. And of course, if you have science or clinical expertise, you should be thinking med sci. And if you have finance, legal, or contracts or IT experience, crit ops, as we'll get to. But if do not come to me afterwards and be like, I just don't know where to start. Start with fundraising and then be a state advocate or a state ambassador. And if you're like, I don't know if I can sign up for a long-term job, projects are okay. But we want you to be a part of this community. We want you to get to know the people, and we all have work to do. So looking forward to doing it. Next slide, please. And this is high level, and then we will double click on each of these boxes. This is how SRF is structured, broadly speaking. There is a board of directors who is responsible for everything. There's a CEO, which is me. And then there's a C-suite, which is the CSO, Chief Scientific Officer, who you'll hear from shortly. That's Catherine Heldy. A CFO, who is Stephanie. And that person, so the CSO leads Med Sci. That's group 1. The CFO leads critical operations. That's group 4. The COO has not yet been hired, but that person will work with the leadership team. They will oversee contractors and they will oversee vendors. The leadership team is composed of 6 groups: community activation, which is Corey, who, this is all patient support. Resource mobilization, this is fundraising, marketing and comms, Ed, partnerships for Ginny, advocacy, Jackie, and conference, Stacy. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to double click on each of these groups and the ways in which you can help. But I wanted to start with this big picture so you could see how SRF is structured and all the different moving parts we have. And with that, I will hand it over to Peter. Yay.
Peter. All right. Hey, thank you guys so much. My name is Peter Halliburton. I'm the development director with Syngap Research Fund. I've been volunteering with SRF since just after my son Carter was diagnosed in 2019. At that time, SRF was a very small and lean organization. As soon as we got our diagnosis, I jumped in and put a fundraiser up on Facebook myself, which I think prompted Mike to reach out to me. And as we got to talking, he realized that my background was in sales and said, you should help us with fundraising, which really over time I've realized is not a skill set that I had coming in, but it's something that we've essentially just kind of iterated over time and tried a lot of different things, and we've seen what has worked. And so we've grown fundraising into a pretty successful machine within SRF. Obviously, as Mike alluded to, there's a lot more that we can be doing. The more money that we can be raising, the more that we can be doing to accelerate science for our kids. So when we started this kind of organization, in the first couple of years, we were doing, 1 or 2 or, maybe 4 grants in a year. And those are typically, $140,000 or so postdoc type grants. And over time, that's progressed to, I think in 2022, we raised over $2 million and did about 15 grants. So obviously, the more that we can be fundraising, the faster we're able to, contribute to the science, and the faster we're able to get to treatments for our kids. To date, I think we've raised 5.75 million. So obviously not a small number and something that we should be proud of. But again, we can definitely, I think, build out the development team to be a bit more mature and support kind of all of the different areas that we should be supporting, which are what you see under number 4 here, with major gifts, family fundraising, events, grants, and sponsorship. If we can just go ahead and move the slide forward, please. So today, resource mobilization team it's fairly lean. We've got a few volunteers that are helping and contributing in big ways. So first and foremost, I'll call out Suzanne Jones. She's a force within the organization. And so she's our board member and also the liaison to the development team. She does an event of her own, annual soiree, and has raised over $500,000. So obviously Suzanne really cares about fundraising and has been extremely helpful, from a leadership perspective. I've got Jessica Bell that is working for Syngap Research Fund. She is a parent and volunteer. She's been exceptional in a development operations role for us. Just really as I've had less time to give, as my life has become more complex and my work life has taken up more time, I've had to pass off more and more responsibilities, which has been really helpful to have Jess on board, and she's kind of taking over a lot of the day-to-day responsibilities. What you see on the screen here on the right-hand side, tracking and reporting, most of that responsibility falls to Jessica today as well. But we can really use assistance in most of the other kind of bubbles that you see on the bottom of the screen here. So real quick I'll just kind of walk through what each of these are and kind of what the responsibilities would be for the role, maybe what we're doing today and how we can improve them, and I'll keep it brief. So major gifts, these are going to be your high net worth donors, high net worth individuals. We obviously need to continue to work those relationships and build those relationships, keep those major donors aware of what Syngap Research Fund is doing with past donations that they've made, thank them for their donations, and keep them abreast on kind of where we're going moving forward, and continue to ask for additional donations from those individuals. Today, we have 2 Syngap grandparents that are kind of running the major gifts process, and that is essentially following up on all donations. I still think that there's more that we can be doing around major gifts, and we're open to kind of a lot of different ideas. So if that's something that speaks to you, we can definitely use more help around major gifts. Family fundraising is going to be events like our Sprint for Syngap fundraiser that we do annually in the spring. It's also going to be new families that are diagnosed and wanting to set up a fundraiser, birthday fundraisers, which parents are pushing out all of the time. I think areas that we can improve around the family fundraising would be potentially putting together a secondary event for the fall timeframe. Our Sprint for Syngap fundraiser is one of the most successful fundraisers that we hold annually. It's a peer-to-peer fundraiser. This year and last year, we raised over $250,000 through that event. And so I think, putting a second, similar type of event that can really get families on board, do the heavy lifting for them so that they can just essentially create a peer-to-peer fundraising page and run with it would be just another way for us to increase revenue coming into Syngap Research Fund. So that's an area to help. We can also, I think, improve content around things like the birthday fundraisers and new families. The content that Facebook pushes out just kind of natively it really doesn't, it's not emotional, it doesn't speak to people. So I think there's a lot more that we can be doing around that family fundraising to improve that. It can also just be additional content, which kind of falls to more of the PR side of the house. I know it's not necessarily exactly under fundraising, but more of the content that we can push out around the science and what Syngap Research Fund is doing and providing updates to donors is going to continue to drive recurring donations and new donors as well. We've got individual giving, so that is going to kind of fall, I guess that kind of falls under some of what I was talking about with the family fundraising as well. We have events. So today we have several families that are running annual events for Syngap Research Fund. Suzanne Jones, as I was mentioning before, has her Syngap Soiree. That's an annual event that has raised over $500,000. Julie and Michael Miles have an annual golf event. That's their Scramble for Syngap. That also has been a really successful event and one that we should be duplicating across the country with other families that are interested in something like a golf event. We've got Nancy Kessler that has the Karen Lieb Gala that she's done, I think, the past 3 years now. And it's a very successful event for us as well. We host that in the Northeast, in New York, New Jersey area. And we'll continue to do that event as well. And then we've got families like the Stelsmazaks, who Brett has run a fundraiser for the past several years. And it's the Cannonball Run has been his event for the past 3 years, which I've also participated in. And that's a cross-country live streaming type fundraiser that's also raised over $500,000 across the numerous events that Brent has hosted supporting Syngap Research Fund. Behind all of those events is a lot of planning that takes place. I think we need folks that are able to kind of look over budgets and help people with budgeting. There's sponsorships, which I'm going to get to in a minute here as well. There's just a lot of work that's behind these events to make them successful and allow us to raise large amounts of money. We also want to make it simple and easy for new families that are interested in hosting events to do the same. So creating templates around events, best practices, capturing all of that information, creating sample budgets that can be shared out with others and kind of used as a template as well. Those are areas that we can use help from an event standpoint. Grants, we have a very lean team running grants today. We have a couple of folks that do have a professional grant writing background. And for the most part, what we're doing with grants is just looking at grants that are coming inbound to Syngap Research Fund. I think one area that we really haven't tapped into that we could be tapping into is outbound grants. So if you have a background in grant writing or looking through various databases or portals for grants and trying to identify grants that could potentially be applicable to Syngap Research Fund, that's another area that we could really use a lot of help. So if you've got grant writing experience, please reach out to us. Sponsorships, I mentioned before, that's primarily going to be around the events, but it's also going to be for SRF's annual science conference. And we basically are able to raise, I think this last year we raised close to $40,000 through industry sponsorships that went to support overhead costs for our scientific conference. The conference last year, they're not cheap. It's not going to be cheap as the community continues to grow. I think this last year we had at least or over 225 attendees at our conference. So you can, obviously expect that there's a cost associated with conference space, the the audio and video that we're using as well. So any help around corporate sponsorships, both on a local level for supporting the regional events and more of like on an industry level supporting our scientific conference, are both critical and needed. So if that speaks to you, again, please reach out to us. Tracking and reporting, again, has been kind of handled by Jess to date. That's going to be more so working within our Salesforce CRM and comparing donations year over year at certain times of the year, or looking at certain events. If you have Salesforce experience, we can always use more help. There's always more that we can be doing. So again, reach out if that's something that speaks to you. And I think that's my portion. And I should be passing it over to JR, Catherine Held, for the med side.
Hi, thank you so much, Peter. Hi, guys. I'm Catherine Haldy, and I am the CSO, the Chief Scientific Officer here at Syngap Research Fund. And I work very closely with two people. Marta Dehia. Dr. Marta Dehia is a radiation oncologist, and so she is the head of our clinical side of things. And then I work really closely with Lindsay Wazorek, who is a PhD, and she has a ton of kind of clinical translational drug experience, and actually vaccine experience. And so the three of us work together and get lots of science stuff done. So I think the first thing I want to do is just go over the org chart, if you can go forward to that, and then I'll come back and talk about what some of the individual volunteer experiences are. So this is a big chart, and it's a big chart because SYNGAP1 is a disorder that we need to cure. So there's a lot of science that goes on. There's a lot of clinical stuff that goes on. So it's a really big job to handle all the things that might come up for what families might need. So it's something that I love and I'm very passionate about. And I'm going to tell you about the three main, I'm using my own mouse, but I know you can't see my mouse, so I won't do that. So we're going to talk about knowledge management, and then in the middle, basic science, and then over on the right, the clinical. So knowledge management, that might sound kind of dry, but it's actually really important. And a lot of the volunteer opportunities I'll tell you about will actually be in that side of things. And so that's basically taking the things that we have learned and making them sort of sticky. So instead of it just being in my head, it becomes a document, it becomes something in a library, it becomes communication, like a blog, something like that. The middle here under basic science, where Lindsay is the lead, this has a lot of working parts. So you'll see the first one there, SAB relationship. The SAB stands for Scientific Advisory Board. These are industry professionals that we have who have agreed to be on our advisory board. And so you can find them on our website, and we ask them questions, and we ask them about grants that we receive when we're trying to decide which grant proposals to fund. We ask them questions about some of the science we're doing, and we try to have really good relationships with them. And then I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on the rest of them, but these are all sort of basic science things. So just like I said, engaging with the SAB, number 2 there is the grantees, so the people that we fund. We definitely need good engagement with them. We need to get updates from them. We need to ask them if they need any help with anything. How can we help their research go better? How would we do that? Well, that's number 3, reagents. So that's like getting preclinical models for the disease. So that's what that's about. And then I'm not even going to talk about the rest of it. There's lots of things within basic science. And then the next one is clinical. So Dr. Marta Dehia is the head of this side. And so just like we have the SAB, we have the CAB, that's the Clinical Advisory Board. These are medical doctors that we have advising us. Same thing, we give grants to clinicians, and so we need clinical grant engagement with the people that are doing the work. And then there's recruiting, just trying to find doctors that are going to be helpful. And I think it's time for me to move on. Oh, okay. Pharma. Okay, so there's lots of things going on in here. So yeah, let's go back to the go back. So impact and success. We've kind of gone past an inflection point where SRF was growing at a certain speed. It's now growing at sort of a warp speed, and that's it's not just SRF. It's like the basic number of people who know about Syngap related disorder, the basic number of people who know about Syngap1 as a gene that needs to be studied, the basic number of people that know about SRF and what we do. Those have all just exploded. And so as far as impact and success goes, every little thing that we do actually does have an impact. Trying to gather the stuff that we know right now and make it sticky so that we don't lose it, that really is going to have lead to our success in the future. And so I have a list of just sort of general things here these are not, there's probably hundreds of small projects that people could do. So please don't think that this is the only stuff. But if you have it, like if you have an interest in looking at online databases, I would love for someone to go to either the Broad GTEx or to the Allen Brain Atlas and just learn about it and then report back to me. Tell me what it says about Syngap. That would be an individual independent project that someone could do. If you have good graphics, we have a lot of need for scientific education. And so we have the ability to make our own graphics, and that's something that we could work on together. You can go to conferences, like our volunteers live all over the country, right? And even all over the world. There are conferences all over the place. You can go to a conference, attend it, and then report back and to give us a little report on what you saw. That would be a fantastic thing to do. So anyway, I'm going to stop there. There's so many ways to contribute. There's so many ways to learn more about this disease. To be in this group, it's usually better to have a science background, but if you don't and you are a really good librarian, you're a librarian, you're graphics, something like that, please come to me, and I could really use some help in those areas, including if you're good at Gmail. So, okay. Next up is Corey.
Hey there. I'm Corey Basin. I'm community activation director. My daughter Sailor is 6 years old and was diagnosed in 2021. We live in North Carolina on the coast, and I've been volunteering with SRF since just about the day we were diagnosed. I kind of jumped in head first, ready to help out. When I joined SRF, there was about 800 patients worldwide. And today we've got more than 1,400, with 400 being in just the United States. So it's grown quite a bit in the past couple of years, and we expect it to explode even more in the coming years. Our group's focus is to support, engage, and grow the Syngap1 community. We also help organize and recruit for research studies in the clinical trial. So we work with the MedSci team and try to give them all the people that are willing to participate in the studies. If you want to go to the organizational chart, the next page. So I've got a bunch of different people that are leading up the different initiatives. As of right now, I'm pretty much the one who reaches out to new families and engages with them initially. What we'll plan on doing, we're gathering up a whole list of state representatives for all 50 states. And once we have the initial engagement with the new family, I'm going to lead them to their state representative, so that state representative can really develop a relationship with them, get to know what their needs are, anything they can get help with. They're going to be there to help them out. Heather Bench is my lead for community support. She's not only going to to help out with just about everything that has to do with community support. But she's also going to be the state representative's kind of go-to person when they have questions. Also have Christy Burns, who is the lead for diversity, equity, inclusion. She's going to be really working this year to build out her team and make some real progress there. We have Jess Duggan, who's our lead for our census. She's the one that is making sure she's tracking down all the new patients, getting their information and logging them so we can have a really accurate count of all of our Syngapians. And then we're looking for a lead for research recruitment and clinical trials recruitment. This person will be the person who's in charge of kind of keeping all the research studies organized, who's in there, what they need, and making sure those positions are filled. And the same thing for clinical trials. One thing, and you can go back to the first page. One of the main reasons that I think the SRF and Syngap has really gotten a name in the science community is because of our families. With all of them engaging when we reach out and we try to get them for different research studies, everybody jumps on board and fills those studies faster than any of these scientists or researchers have ever seen. And it really stands out in the rare disease space. And because of that, we've got more people that are willing to work on our disease. So the community support is a very crucial part of the whole organization, and we really couldn't do it without the awesome parents. So I concede to the next person, who is, I don't even know who's coming up next. Mr. Aaron Hardy. He might be on mute.
I mean, let me talk to this group broadly, and then I'll ask Kevin and Aaron and Stephanie to talk specifically. This group is called Critical Ops because this is where it's critical work, right? If we just go to the org chart quickly, and then I'll ask the various leaders to go. And you can see we don't have, the CFO is de facto lead on this, but there's room for someone to just be a coordinator for all these moving parts. This is all of the work of doing this organization. And if you've been following our grants progression, as Peter said, in the first few years, we gave 5 or 6 grants. And then in the past 2 years, we've given over a dozen grants each year. And those grants are complicated, right? So that's grants management. Everything from as soon as the board says yes, it's funded, the contract, the reporting, the payment, everything. Stephanie in finance can talk to her own slide. Kevin, all things legal. People is both volunteer management and HR, right? So having someone who can help engage with people when they raise their hand and help the volunteers through the process of becoming volunteers, that's work. And as we get more and more paid staff, which actually that'll also grow to an HR function. And then Roy, is our go-to guy on all things IT. But this group is the nuts and bolts of doing the business of SRF, and it's a really important team. So I'm eager to see volunteer. And if Catherine's group sounded like, whoa, this group is nuts and bolts. Any parent who's out there in the professional world can do this. I don't see Aaron on this call. Hope everything's okay, but I'm just going to talk to grants management. That is, like I just said, from when a contract is approved, working with the university to get the contract signed. There's always little things that need to be changed, making sure that everyone knows where to go when the contract is done, staying in touch with the institution on the logistics side. Catherine's group stays in touch on the science side, making sure that they're invoicing us, that we're paying them, that we're getting our reports from them, and that we know what's going on. This is bread and butter project management, and it is the heart of what we do. And with that, Stephanie, do you want to talk to finance? And I think you even have your own slides, Stephanie. Lauren, if you want to go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So for finance, it's pretty much, like he said, once all the grants have been approved, I make sure that they get paid. And then I do, so all of the payments, so reimbursing families for, going to CHOP, all the bills that SRF needs paid. And then also working to get our audits done each year and our taxes done so we can get those out to the public and on our website. Right now, we are currently looking at trying to have a volunteer that wants to do more of the day-to-day, just QuickBooks Online, accounting type transactions, just making sure everything's linking correctly and being reported correctly. So when we report the financials to the board every quarter, we kind of have everything up to date and kind of know where we're standing as far as overhead and how much we've spent on grants, how much we've already promised to make sure that, we have enough cash flow to cover that. And then I think down the road, if we have somebody that can kind of help out with the day-to-day transactions on the QuickBooks Online, we'd be able to do a little bit more on the finance and planning side. I'd be able to do a little bit more, with the cash planning forecasting, like I said, making sure that we have the money for the grants that we've already promised, making sure, we are going to have the cash inflow to go ahead and sign on more grants. Just be a little bit more broad in that section and just a little bit more planning and budgeting type stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. And then Kevin, legal.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I don't have much to say. I think what I would say is we have a number of parents who are lawyers, and I reach out to them and we have conversations when things come up. Sometimes there are contracts that we're looking at, sometimes there are other issues that arise, but mostly we're just available when somebody needs some help from a legal perspective, and it's on the as needed basis. So if anybody else is interested in chipping in, that would be great. I think there's opportunities to maybe expand what we do from the legal perspective. I know Jackie's going to talk about advocacy, but I think it's been nice to be able to help some families advocate for their situations, and that can be something we could expand to do more of over time, I would hope.
Yeah. And it's been great. So everything from bread and butter legal for the org to getting involved in specific cases and helping families. It's really impressive what Kevin has done. And then HR is people management, again, just engaging with people when they raise their hand and getting that over the line and helping people. Basically, it's helping people from when they raise their hand to landing them in one of the groups we're talking about today and making sure that they're happily engaged, right? Nothing breaks my heart more than to see when someone raises their hand and we're just all so busy that they call back in 2 months and be like, what's going on? It's like, oh no. So that's work all by itself, right? Just connecting families with each other and making sure we have a good fit is part of the work. And then IT, if you are an IT geek, we use a lot of software to make this business work, right? We do website, we do social, Lauren should be saying this because she does all these things, but we do a lot of tech. And it's going to get bigger, not smaller, as the organization grows, because we need to be as smart as possible with our use of technology. So if you're a geek, there's room for you in critical ops. Please join us. With that, I don't think there's much else to say. Grandpa Ed.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ed Gabler. I am grandfather to 4, including Cole, who is 7 years old now. He lives about 10 minutes from me near Cleveland, Ohio. He was diagnosed in 2019. I think there were somewhere in the 350 range worldwide at that time. I've been volunteering for a little over 2 years and a little over a year in the communications and marketing group. As the slide says, craft and deliver the message. What it doesn't say is we first have to identify what we want to put out there. And that mainly comes from everybody else. It comes from leadership, it comes from parents, it comes from new volunteers, it comes from other people typically who say, I want to tell my story, I want to do this event, Let's get it out there on social media or in a blog or whatever it may be. Then we have to craft it. What does it look like? Is it going to be in writing? What is it going to say? How are we going to say it? And then deliver through email, newsletter, social media, multiple of places. Most importantly, our website. The website is like the key to SRF because that's where most people start. That's where they find us. That's where they learn about Syngap One. That's where we tell our stories. And we always drive our social media campaigns to get back to our website so that they can see what we're all about. Stewarding the brand is basically consistency, professionalism, and we want people to be on the team who will be committed to that and make everything look nice. It doesn't have to look the same, but it has to be consistent so that it's recognizable. As far as success, a lot of successes we've had over the past year or so. The website's the big one. I mean, we were working on that for over a year. It launched last December, and it, in my opinion, is far and away better than the old website. It looks better. It has more organization to it, and it's more user-friendly. We also have a few new things on the website, including a new revised family resources page for new families to look at and for people to lead others to. We launched 2 new podcasts last year, one in Spanish and Syngap One Stories. The other one's Cafe, that's the Spanish one. And then we've also expanded in conjunction with Vicky Artiaga, the Spanish resources page for our Hispanic community. Let's go to the organizational chart, please, Lauren. As far as the organizational chart, I have 3 people who help lead different areas. And for those of you who aren't good at math, I have a lot more than 3 little blue blobs there. So we need a lot of people that can help out. And it can be in small ways. It can be for a couple hours a week. I can pick and choose what you'd like. But I do want to recognize who is on the team. Dan heads up the website design. And he does a lot of the technical work behind the scenes to get that up and running. Olga handles most of the webinars in conjunction with Lauren. And Deanna handles the Wednesday Warriors. I do have a small team of designers. I do not have a lead design, which is top of my list, and it was on Mike's list at the beginning of my needs. But I do have a small group of some people that I am able to call on to see if they can pitch in. Paulina, Luis, Sandoval, and Toby, who I understand is on the call. Hi, Toby. We need to get together. I need to meet you in person somewhere or through Zoom soon. But there's a lot more possibilities for a lot of other people to help out. Like I said, the design lead is probably the biggest thing. In general, once the design is created, it falls to Lauren and me to take a look at it and make sure that it gets tweaked, make sure that it is consistent. And it'd be really nice to have a design lead, not only for that, but also to be looking ahead at evolving our designs and what else can we do and freshening some things up. We do have a lot of templates in the design that is part of the brand that has been very, very helpful. And that was set up by our past design leader, Jen Robert. But that would be our top focus. Social media content and posting is another big one that takes up a lot of time. It could be done a little bit better, a little bit differently. I am definitely not an expert in marketing. And if anyone is an expert in marketing, that would be very helpful to have. Blog, the content and creating and publishing. That's something that a lot of people, a lot of volunteers, a lot of parents do their own blogs. They send them to me or tell me they want to write a blog, and I help them through that process. Don't write a lot of blogs. We don't need somebody to be writing blogs all day long. I think that would defeat the purpose. But we do want somebody who can kind of coordinate all of the blogs and put it up. We had a public relations team last year, a outside agency that we paid. We no longer have them, so we are looking for somebody with some public relations experience or press relations who can lead up that angle. I think that it would be very helpful for other families who want to get their story out in their community to have somebody to turn to that can help them out and establish some contact with different press. And then finally, website posting of content. That takes some time. I'm doing most of that right now, and would love to have somebody on board with that. Talked about the purpose of marketing communication, but I have some goals too. We obviously want to spread awareness. I mean, Syngap 1's a rare disease. Probably nobody on this call or nobody involved with SRF now had heard of Syngap 1 when they were diagnosed. And we need to get the message out so that we create some buzz about it, not only in the professional community, but also to generate some donations from people who've never heard of it. And so we want to tell our story and spread awareness. Want to motivate families like the ones here on the call, new families coming in, want to motivate them to get involved and be passionate about SRF and the message that we're trying to put out there and the work that we're trying to do. Want to promote events. If you're having an event, I want to hear about it. I can help you promote it. I can put it in an event page on the website for you, things like that. I know that's mostly up Peter's alley, but as far as promoting it, I can help out with that. And then obviously we want to encourage other people to follow the lead of new volunteers. So we want to market that quite a bit. And again, the biggest goal is telling the world what Syngap 1 is, what SRF is, what we do. And I know that there are a lot of people who do know Syngap Research Fund, and they're impressed with how we've come along. I know that for a fact because I've had people tell me that. But for the people who are not on the inside is so much cooler. It is just a phenomenal organization. Daily, I see somebody coming up with an issue, whether it's a new family or a family who's been diagnosed for years, have a question, and all these people just swarm to say, I want to help. Get involved, be a part of that, because it is so rewarding. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to group 6, probably.
Yeah, but before you do that, Ed, I'm sorry, Virginie. I've got to say, like, Ed is just, I mean, Corey's like this too. Everyone's like this, but like Ed is just an extreme example of a volunteer who raised their hand, walked in and was like, Mike, just go, just get out of my office, Mike. I'm in charge. And he had just taken over and kicked indoors in a way. We don't really give annual awards. There's like one more, we need a volunteer to be in charge of awards, and it'd be just such a pain. But we should give Ed an award for just, taking over and improving in a way that is sort of, probably should have given it to Corey 2 years ago, and we should give it to Ed this year, and just keep going. But it's exceptional. I'm so grateful I don't write newsletters anymore, and I didn't have to oversee the website. And the other thing to emphasize about Ed, aside from how impactful he is that he's not a direct caregiver, right? So, and we're recording this. So if you've got a sibling who's underutilized, or if you've got a parent who's bored in retirement or whatever, send them this presentation. This is going to be on YouTube. And be like, hey, why don't you volunteer with SRF? Because I think extended people who aren't directly caring for a Syngapian, you are welcome here too. We want as many people as possible. There is so much work to do. And Ed has had such a tremendous impact. And yet, Having said that, some people, in spite of having a crazy Syngapian at home, still also manage to deliver value day in and day out. And that's a great setup for Virginie. So here's Virginie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Virginia McNamer. My son Ty is almost 9. Can't believe it. He was diagnosed almost more than 7 years ago now. And I've been involved in the Syngap community about the same amount of time and with SRF from the beginning. The past 3 years ago, I've also been working in a rare disease space in partnership with advocacy group. And so Mike was like, well, you're now in charge of effective partnership. So here I am talking to you guys about why you should join my team, because the other one have not been saying, join my team. And I'm like, join my team. This is why I'm here. This is a cool team. Join my team. So why can you switch the slide, please, Lauren? This is our org chart. I'll go over that really quickly, and we'll move to the next slide, where we'll dive a little bit more about all the different types of partnerships we have at SRF. So until now, we kind of went over all of the internal things that we can do at SRF. This team is more, what can we do with the external world, and mainly the rare disease world. And there's a lot going on. And this team is really trying to keep a pulse on what's going on out there, so we can keep those partnerships going, and we can figure out how we can build those good partnership and just keep figuring out what's going on. I'm just tired. I'm so sorry. My words are terrible today. I apologize. All right, can you move on to the next slide, please? There you go. All right, here are the different types of partners that we have at SRF. We have the pharma partners, non-pharma industry, the Syngap Global partners, which are other organizations, the PAGs, and the rare umbrella groups. So the pharma partners, what I need help with in that team is I need people to help me and help us keep track of all the industry partner, all the pharma companies that have Syngap in their pipelines, plus other companies that are doing some great work in the rare disease space, and just let us know what's going on. There's a lot of company, a lot of science happening, and it's really hard to keep track. It's just so much news going on. We're all trying to keep track. LinkedIn is a great space to be on and just follow those companies. And if you see news that it's interesting, just relay that to us. And that's really it. So it shouldn't take long. You can select a couple companies that you want to follow. And then if there's something interesting news that you feel is relevant to us, just let us know, and then we'll follow up with that. Non-pharma industry, those are all of the partners that are usually, if you see, you should recognize those logos. If you don't, then that should be like we haven't done our job. And a lot of those are tied to studies, and they're tied to some of the projects with Corey's team. So a lot of our partnerships are working closely with the community activation team. So we already have projects going on with them. There's Citizen, RareX, Simons. So those we're actively recruiting for studies. But we still need to attend meetings. We need to, again, see what's going on. They're all pushing out social media. It's still hard to keep track of what's going on in that space. GeneDx, Invitae, those are genetic testing company. We're still trying to build partnership with them, and it's just like making sure that they are communicating with newly diagnosed families. Beacon, Pareto, those are all good partnership that we have going on. It's a lot, and it's, again, just we need 1 or 2 people to just pick and choose which one you want to own. And it's not going to take a lot of time, but it's just keeping track of what's happening with each of those partners. Syngap Global. We have a lot, there's more and more organizations in the world, and we are partnering with all of them. Syngap Global Network is the umbrella organization. It's not a real organization, but it's a coalition of organizations. There's quarterly meetings. You can attend if you want to participate in those meetings. And again, it's just keeping track on social media. What are our international partners doing? If there's something interesting, if they have an interesting event, just let us know, and we can amplify, flag it to Ed. He can share. That's another thing. Like we like to amplify our other Syngap partners. Other PAGs. So those are the other rare disease, and PAGs stand for patient advocacy groups. Those are the other rare disease groups. And why is it important to partner with them? They or keep track of what they're doing. They could be they could be doing some different type of research. They could have some great ideas in fundraising and merchandise and anything. So it's interesting to follow a few groups and figure out what they're doing. So again, you could just follow them on social media and then report to us if there's something that you like what you're seeing. There's several groups that we are on a regular basis partnering with. We have several projects in common, grants in common. So we are often talking with many of those groups on a regular basis, but we don't always follow everything that they do. And so having more eyes and ears in the space on social would be very helpful. And then the rare umbrella groups, these are organizations that their mission is just kind of help rare disease organizations in general. They all have kind of their different niche. You have Combined Brain, Rare Epilepsy Network, Agenda, Global Genes, and others. So all of the logo that you have there, those are just a sample of the partners that we have. There's more. So just to give you an idea of the amount of partners that we have to keep track of. And so those umbrella groups, usually we have to attend meetings. They could be monthly, quarterly, and there's usually good educational meetings. So you're welcome to attend if you want to. And one of us on the leadership team will usually attend as well. But it's great education, and same thing. It's just making sure that helping us coordinate to make sure at least someone from SRF is represented at those meetings and participating. So a lot to do on the partnership team. It's fun work, and it shouldn't take a lot of time if you grab a couple of partners to follow, and you could do that in conjunction with other roles at SRF.
Can I just editorialize for 1 minute?
Sure.
I agree with everything. I mean, Virginie said a lot. You can just follow this group and report back, and I would just add comma as a starting point, right? As you start to figure these groups out, what I think a lot of people don't understand is how much time and energy we spend building valuable relationships with these groups. Virginie, for instance, has just, to her credit, spent way more time than any of us want to admit on a 5-way grant with 4 other groups that we'll be excited to announce at some point in the future. That requires a certain level of trust between us and these groups to agree to do this kind of work together, and that's real. And I think, going to those meetings, Combined Brain, Agenda, REN, Global Genes, you learn so very much. And then it's just the basic premise has to be, in addition to having an ultra rare disease, there is not enough stuff in place to help our kids. And our job is to put in place what needs to happen for there to be therapies for our kids. And there's no playbook, there's no secret list, there's no one knows how to do this. The way you figure this out is you look at other people who are figuring it out, and you work with them, and you look at people who are a half step ahead of you, and you work with them. And so the I want to agree wholeheartedly with Virginia. You can do as you can start with just tracking the companies or the PAGs or whomever and being like, hey, this came to my attention. Why aren't we doing this? Or we could do this better. But the next step is to get to know them, to go to meetings with them, and to really become a part of the SRF's connectivity. A lot of what we have done right, we have done because we learned from our friends. But to learn from our friends, you just got to make friends, right? And we need you as volunteers to help us, because as SRF grows and the space grows, the number of connections are infinite. And what I spend more time saying no to things right now than saying yes to things, because I can only work so many hours a day. And so that's the whole reason we're consciously expanding the scale here, is we need to hold hands with as many people and companies and et cetera as possible. I'm sorry, Virginia, back to you.
No, I'm done. That was exactly what you said.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Jackie Cancier, and I am the Patient Advocacy Director. I have Jaden. She is 20, going to be 21 in a couple weeks. And she was diagnosed right around the time with Peter. I think we're like a week apart for diagnosis in July 2019. And we can, I guess, review the organizational chart, and we'll come back to this. Okay, and so this is very loose right now because we definitely need advocates in this space. We are looking, it's very broad. There are a lot of different areas that you can get involved in with advocacy. You don't need to have all of these as something you're good at. You can pick one particular thing, but specifically what we are really looking for is parallel to Corey's program, where we're going to have the ambassadors that are, assisting with families and the community activation. This is a separate program, which is going to be the state advocates. And we want to have one in every single state, and hopefully start to develop teams within each state as well. And once you're on this team with the advocacy team, there's a broad range of areas that you can get involved in with whatever you want to learn. You don't need to have experience in these things. This is the group. If you want to become an empowered parent, this is the group for you. And so we already do. We work on congressional outreach, federal issues, working with regulatory agencies. There's going to be state issues, local state bills that might impact you. Insurance is a huge thing. In fact, Mike and Catherine and I just met, I think yesterday, talking about kind of looking forward. Whether you have HCBS, which is home and community-based services, Medicaid, whether you have private payers, Katie Beckett, those kinds of things. How do you get that? That's very different in each state. But even if you have private payers, are they going to cover the treatments that we're trying to get involved and are trying to get developed? And having those conversations early to make sure that all those things are in alignment. Education, that was where one of the ways that I started in the very beginning, because your niche might evolve as your child ages, right? And so if you have a young child that needs an IEP and you're going through that kind of challenging process as you're learning all these rights and different things like that, education might be where you hi let's give Tony a moment. You can take him off mute, Mike, if you want.
No, I'm sorry. He just blew in. He does that sometimes.
No, Jaden loves it. I say give him the moment, so yeah.
Over to you.
But if you have educational things going on, that might be your thing. And then housing is going to become a much bigger issue, of course, once they become adults. Can we go back to the last slide real quick? And so, okay, impact and success, right? We already have had quite a bit of impact in the advocacy realm, but we are looking to grow more advocates. And this is a group where I'm not going to be teaching you what to think, but this is how to think and how to find the information that you need. We're really looking for those kind of creative people, critical thinkers. You do not have to match my personality or anything like that. Ed's going to be putting up a link to a webinar I did several months ago for another organization, but it's all about advocacy and how it doesn't matter if you have an introverted personality or extroverted, if you're good at, you like a certain social media platform, whatever it might be, there's a place for you in advocacy. We need people researching. We need people looking through their state links and helping us develop resource guides. We need people who are going to help assist families in their IEPs. And we've done that with several families. We have 100% success rate so far. We've made some really big gains on education. Nancy, Marta, Kevin, we've all been involved with those, and that's been huge. That's very impactful for people that have younger children. And then now we're getting into more issues as our children age up. We're having more issues with HCBS, home community-based services, and that is different for every state. So we really need people to volunteer for their state so I can help you learn how to find that information, and we can start developing a guide for families. We're also are going to be, like I said, working on some federal issues, and you'll have an opportunity to learn how to engage with your legislators, whether at a state or federal level. You can see the picture there is me testifying at my own state capitol. But the important thing, like I said, to know about this group is that we're the defenders, right? We are the ones that when people come up against, discrimination issues, when you're hitting barriers with getting your insurance, we're the ones that if we don't know the information, we're going to find it somehow. We help elevate SRF influence by the different councils we sit on, and the positioning we have within our state helps us form alliances and partnerships, strategic partnerships with others. So we cross over the other groups, right? If you're in a state council, and like, for example, Terry Jo Vishal, who, runs Combined Range, she's on the state council with me. And so, she's very close friend with Syngap Research Fund and Mike. And I didn't start that relationship, but that's what I'm saying is you're going to meet influential people in these different roles that you play, and you're going to be learning so much that even after, hopefully you volunteer for SRF for the rest of your life, but no matter what, years down the road, say we have a cure and we've all worked ourselves out of a job, this is still going to be useful skills. You're going to be able to learn how to defend your child's rights, how to find the information that you need to knock down the barriers that exist for them throughout their lifespan. So we really hope you consider joining our advocacy group. That's it.
All right.
I'm just briefly, Stacy.
Mhm.
All of the people you're seeing today are exceptional. And what's nice about Jackie is you have a chance to really learn from a pro. With the advocacy is something I have not done for 5 years. We've just had so much to do. And the fact that Jackie has stood forward and said, "I'm happy to lead this," is really exciting. So if you're curious about any of this, like, please don't be intimidated. We are a supportive group and we have great people. So, give it some thought, because that's a huge opportunity. And even if we work ourselves out of a job on the science side, our children will always need advocacy. So thank you for being here, Jackie, and for your leadership. And then Stacy, who I think my first meeting today was with Stacy, and now I'm seeing you again. How fun is this? Over to you.
Good. Start of the day, end of the day. All right. My connection is kind of been off and on, so I apologize. If for some reason you lose me, Lauren knows it all as well, so she can jump in. But I'm Stacy. I live in North Idaho. My son Jack was recently diagnosed in November. He's 4. So I was anxious to jump in, find a way to be involved and to help. My background is in sales and marketing. I work for a CPG company now, and I'm excited to take on the lead for the conference this year. So for those who may not know, we've got an annual conference going on. It is in December 5th and 6th this year in Los Angeles. It's a rotate cities based on the American Epilepsy Society meeting every year. So we follow that. This year it is in Los Angeles. We had some great meetings today and feel confident about our venue. We're just working out the details there. But there's a lot that goes into planning and putting together the conference, and definitely looking for some additional volunteers to help make that happen. We have been working with a fantastic gal named Laura, who's part of SLC 6A1 rare disease, and she has a lot of experience putting events together. And we're also working with Cure GABA A, and we're working on leveraging our resources. We're each going to have our own separate conferences. However, we're doing a really great job at leveraging the costs down, finding a facility that can have all of our groups and just work together to create a really great event. So they've been instrumental, especially Laura with SLC Connect. And I've just been really enjoying working with her and putting this thing together. Our goal really, so please attend the meeting, tell your friends and family. We really need to continue sharing the message on getting the attendance out there. It's on the West Coast this year. We really are needing, I think, some graphic design assistance to help us create our registration page, our marketing materials, everything that's going to help it make it come together. That's going to be really key in helping us spread the message. You can pre-register now, by the way, if you go to the fantastic new website and go under events, and you can see the 2024 conference. You can pre-register. I was going to include the link, but it looks like not everybody would receive it, just the hosts and panelists. But let's see. Anyway, Thursday is, so it's December 5th and 6th. Thursday is the Science Day. So Catherine is taking the lead on that, and we'll be putting together a fantastic agenda, working with different scientists and researchers to help spread the word on the latest and greatest. I think a really great opportunity to learn, what's happening out there with Syngap 1 and the exciting findings and studies and whatnot, everything you need to know there. Friday is the family day, really more connecting with the community, the families, hearing and learning from each other. Just a really great way to connect and learn from one another. You can bring your families, bring your children. We are making it a family-friendly event. I'll be actually out at the venue next week in person to take an in-person stroll and really kind of understand the lay of the land, so we can make it as smooth and seamless as possible. So as far as the volunteer opportunities, we're going to need a lot of hands on deck, like I said, to make it happen, especially at the conference itself, I would say. I already mentioned the graphic design lead with the marketing materials. We are putting together some events. Thursday night, there'll be a reception with the combined other rare diseases, the SLC 6A1 and the Cure GABA A, along with Mike, you'll have to jump in and add the other companies that we're working with.
Citizen and Combined Brain and
Thank you.
SLC 6A1 and SRF have done this for the past 2 years. So we are establishing a strong tradition here for Thursday night, and it's going to be amazing.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes. And then Friday night is more of a family event night for the families. So working or looking for an event coordinator that might help us put that together. That would be a really great opportunity for a volunteer to jump into. Swag is always something that we like to try and include in conference. So someone who may be interested or passionate about that would love a volunteer opportunity there. At AV Assist, this is something that I've been definitely not my forte, but working with the different hotels on understanding, what those needs are there. So anyone who may have experience in that, especially transferring the material once we get it, we're going to be recording and putting it up on the website would be really helpful. On-site, like I mentioned, greeters for the registration, on-site setup and takedown. So lots of areas where you can jump in and help. Overall, though, we really need attendance. So please come and share the word. And I'm excited to be here and excited to help put this together and with Lauren and the rest of the team. So reach out. The org chart is pretty basic. If you go to the next slide, it's kind of ever evolving. Pretty much what I just had kind of discussed on some of those key volunteer opportunities. Catherine's leading the Science Day. Ed has been extremely instrumental in helping the Family Day agenda, but really getting some help with those Thursday, Friday events and the swag. As I said, ever evolving, but those are where we're at right now.
Thank you, Stacy. And again, Stacy probably gets next year's award for jumping in from and just taking over, which has been lovely. I want one word of caution on the conference. Stacy made it sound like we need a lot of day off volunteers. We need volunteers starting now to help with the planning and the logistics. And once the conference is over, you get about 3 weeks off before I send an email and say, okay, what did we learn? How do we do it better next year? And when can we start planning 2025? Because that's exactly what I'm going to do. Like this conference is rapidly becoming the heartbeat of this community. It is often for many the first time they connect with other families, and the amount of information and the amount of connection and the amount of just I don't have words to describe how important the conference is. And everyone should go. And if this is interesting to you, please sign up. But understand that this is bigger than a 2-day event. This is our prom, right? This is our annual moment where we sit with industry and academia and each other, and we connect and we take inventory of where we are. So I cannot emphasize enough how important this is. Virginie.
Yeah. All right. So you've heard from all the team leads, and I hope I heard something in there pique your interest, and you found something that you want to do at SRF. And if not, and you want to learn a little bit more, or you still have questions about any of the teams, you feel free to reach out to me or any of the team leaders. We all geared to answer any of your questions. But if you're ready to jump in and volunteer, the next step is to register with us and to go to Betterfly. There's a link here. Lauren can put it in the chat. You can also access it directly from the website. It's probably easier than figuring out a long link. If you go to the website, you go to, which tab is it, Ed? Let me find it quickly.
Syngap
Under families.
volunteer.
Under families, and then connections, volunteers with SRF. And right there's a button that will take you straight to where you need to register. And in there, you will see all the different ties with all the different teams. And then you can select the roles that you're interested in, the teams you're interested in. You can select multiple ones or just general interest if you're not sure what you want to do. From there, we'll reach out and we'll set up one-on-one time with you and figure out what you want to do. And then from there, you'll sign an NDA, code of conduct. We'll assign an email address, Slack, and then you'll be ready to go and jump in the deep end and join our team and the madness.
It's not madness. It's excitement.
It's fun. It's exciting.
It's good. It's good. It's good
Good
fun.
man. It's a good fun. Yes. It's a good team. You see all the pictures. We always on Slack talking to each other. It's fun. It's productive, and we feel like we're getting things done. And I think that's the best feeling in the world.
Any questions? Thank you, Virginie.
Yep.
Any questions? You can raise your hand. You can put them in the Q&A. You can ask to speak live. And so as next steps, you can go to that volunteer form and you can click on it and say, I want to volunteer. You can email anyone here. Rainey raised her hand. Let me let Rainey talk. I'm just going to pull you in as a panelist, Rainey, so you can do that. Or allow you to talk. Okay, where are you, Rainey? There you go. If you unmute, Rainey, you can talk. Hey.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rainey. Just a quick question. So I have very little education skills. I am not a good speller. I'm not a good reader, anything like that. But if I'm taught a specific skill like data entry or how to do something, I learn very quickly and I excel at that. Is there any like way that if there is a specific job that you guys need help with that I could be trained? Because I can absolutely do
Rainy,
so.
we already have a
Rain-
good idea for where to put you, Rainy, already, because you,
Yeah.
sorry, I jumped in. Corey can,
Let Corey go.
She's
Let
mine.
Corey.
She's mine.
he's yours. I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Your ears must be burning or whatever that is, because we were all talking about you today. So
Okay.
I didn't have time to give you a call beforehand, but I will be in touch.
Okay. Sounds
I've got
good.
a great idea for you.
Love
Hey,
that. Okay.
Rainey, I'm glad you asked the question, because in case other people are feeling like they need more professional training to do something, I want them to understand that we are the non-negotiable requirement for being a part of SRF is being a good person with a good heart. And if you've got that, we will work out, we'll find the right place for you. And I think, you know, I don't care what credentials you have. I know some very stupid people with a lot of letters, and I know some very capable and smart people with no letters. And I want to remind everybody that you were the mom who got diagnosed and said, well, I got a little time on my hands. Instead of you guys paying for my plane tickets to CHOP, why don't I just drive across the country and do all 3 trials? And I mean, that is the kind of let's get it done attitude that is why SRF is successful, right? That is, I don't think anyone's done anything quite that crazy, but you know, everyone on the screen is a certain level of crazy where they're like, well, let's just do it, right? Stacy Miller's like, I was just diagnosed. I've never been to the conference. I should be in charge of the conference. That's amazing. And that is, you know, that's what we need. You know, we need Eds and Corey's to be like, Mike, just get out of my way. I can do this better than you. And so
That's what I was going to say. We're all learning this at the same time. So there's none of us, or at least most of us, have not ever done this before. It's a learning curve. So don't feel intimidated because we're all in it together.
So yeah, I for the record, I disagree wholeheartedly that you're not qualified, but I'm glad you asked the question, because I want people to know that we're happy to teach anyone who's got the heart and the willingness to work. So.
And there's a great
I'd like to
support.
just step in real quick and just say, you know, part of what it is about my particular group is that I am going to show you where to go within your state to be able to get training in specific areas that you're interested in. You know, right now you're working on your child's IEP, but there are state specific training programs that will teach you everything about IDEA, and they're free, and you know how to be a mentor and become certified as an educational mentor. It's completely free through various different programs. And there's other things for neurodevelopmental disorders or for leadership and advocacy and disability rights. And that training is part of what it is to be in the advocacy group, because this isn't about having a PhD or anything like that in this group. This is about how do you find the information you need? What is holding you or your child back? And how do you become an expert on that particular topic? That's what this group is all about.
Yeah. Other questions? I see no hands. And we've been going for over an hour. It's a little late, but I love that this is recorded, because we will cut off the front bit where Virginia told us to start over, and we will.
Or Lauren messed up. Okay.
No one messed up. We just.
That's fine.
And you know, please reach out to us. Generally, our email is firstname@curesyngap1.org. You are welcome here. This, you know, when Ashley and I were diagnosed, I think I've said this a few times, there was a whole lot of nothing going on. I wrote this in the blog that I just shared. Read the blog. You know, there was nowhere for me to go and help my kid. So I built it, right? But this SRF is, and I hope you getting this message, because with the blog, with the 50 and the what hour you just spent, this organization exists for families of Syngapians to come in and have an impact on day one. Ask anyone, call anyone. We move fast. Stacy brought me an idea this morning. I talked to 5 other people. It was approved hours later. Like, things get done around here. And if you're excited about making the future better for your kids, this is where you do it. No one else is doing it at this scale, at this speed. And no one else is this plugged into Syngap land. So come join us. You are welcome. And it's actually fun. Yeah, it sucks that our kids are sick. Our lives are hard in ways that nobody understands, but we're still allowed to have a community and to enjoy ourselves. No one here is crying. No one here is miserable. Yes, none of us are going to sleep tonight, but who cares? We're having fun because we know we're doing good work, right? So come and join the party. With that, thank you all. Somebody end this. Lauren, are you in charge?
I think you are. Okay, bye.
Bye.